Anything Native American.
Field 28 East. Field 28 East, about 1 mile east of Parks. This Bo's first responders. He's on one vehicle accident.
1 mile east of Parks. That could be the bridge, take bridge.
Yeah.
I hope Harold gets it if it's in the water.
Let me get another profile, let's see.
Well, if I call you, just have Shirley tell them you're busy going out on
Me the other night, I come in, I'd done 11 of them, and I got it there about 8:30. And then it was cold, and the state police called me. 4 people in the car had flipped up here close to 23. The top had come in on them, 4 youngsters. They was having to cut the doors off to get them out. And she called me, and I said, my record's broke. I'll have it fixed by morning. Thank you anyway. Has a beard. He didn't wear a beard till after he was, or in later years, did he?
Right.
Until he was shot.
Until he was shot, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
in other words, he was clean shaven.
Right.
So this thing had to be
That would be later on.
carved,
Yeah.
carved when he had a
After
beard.
the war, probably, yeah. Exactly. I wonder if they used it for target practice. Being Southerners.
Well, I hear him working on Patty's car. I think I'll go see what Glenn.
The
Yeah.
phone call was for me. Just, I'll have to take you with me.
Okay.
It's my back. Stays all right. I just love to go out on the way to the door.
And you said you were, what, put in jail in most countries or something
Well,
like that? Or the majority of them?
The Shah of Iran had me, and de Gaulle had me, and digging in their ancient temples.
That's great. I'd like to do a documentary just on you.
When I was in my early 20s, I was as close to an Indiana Jones as you can ever find. Now, I didn't know how to use a whip, and I never had a big rock chase me. But other than that,
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to do a documentary just on you. All right, great.
my name's Gary Floyd Blythe. I live at 1205 North Main, Waldron, Arkansas. I have Blythe's Museum here, and I started collecting artifacts when I was 9 years old. Both of my great-grandmothers were half-breed Cherokee. One of them started me hunting Indian artifacts when I was 9. I have somewhere over 14,000 Indian artifacts that I have found within 30 miles of the place I have my museum at the present time. I've collected from all over the world. I have a saddle and some things I took out of the Belle Starr cave before the federal government finally closed it to people going into it, afraid it might hurt someone getting inside of it. I collect firearms. I spent 7.5 years overseas. I've been locked up a few times for the antiquity laws back then, although they're stringent on us today. Wasn't so much here in the States at the time, but over there they were pretty stringent. I was excavating paleo stuff in southern France at a place called Clermont-Ferrand, and I was picked up and taken to de Gaulle and was given time in their Bastille. After the Algerian archaeologist came in and seen some of my work and how I'd cataloged it, he asked me if I was an archaeologist, and I said, no sir, just an amateur. But anyway, he got me out of the Bastille 3 days later, and I worked for the Louvre Museum for 27 days, but I didn't get to keep anything that I had picked up after that time. I also had problems in Iran. I was digging in one of the ancient temples and bringing out some of their projectile points, and that was a no-no at the time I was over there. And I've got a few dents and beats and brains and mashed, and still hunt arrowheads on Sunday afternoon. When they used to plow here in the 40s and 50s, you go out and pick up 200 or 300 points a day. Now then, no one, you starve to death being a farmer. So nowadays they have beef cattle and no one plows, and so if I find 10 or 12 arrows a day, I think I'm doing well at this time in my life. In the early 70s, Steve Bartow, a friend of mine, and I went into the Belle Starr cave. While we were looking around in there, we came up with an old saddle, a head of Abraham Lincoln carved out of lead, and also I got a corkscrew that was engraved, and I have those in my museum. Steve reached over on a ledge and found an 1860 Army Colt that was still loaded. Still had the primers, the caps on the tubes, and it was so old it was rusty, but the bullets were coming apart. And as you turn the barrel up, pieces of the old lead had disintegrated enough that they fell out.
Was this gun pointed like maybe a pointer or anything? Was it pointed?
No, it was just laying it on a ledge.
On a ledge.
And so, of course, I offered him both eyes and my left big toe for it, and he's laughed at me. He passed away a few years ago, and I went to the family that I intended to pay more than what the gun was worth.
Right.
But it was in poor shape. But some way or another, it had disappeared, and the family couldn't come up with it. James.
I mean, in this area.
He'd been through here, but I've heard my grandparents talk about it.
And Belle Starr's been through here.
Oh, yeah,
also.
many times.
Yeah.
Belle Starr used to come into Waldron, and they had a lookout on both ends of Waldron. Waldron was called a troubled town. And they had a man here, and when he would see a group coming in or Belle Starr, he would ride about a mile downtown and get a hold. They had a large bell in the middle of town. They would ring the bell, and all the stores would close up except the saloons. And usually her gang would ride in and go to the saloon and buy a drink or something, and then head on south because Waldron didn't have enough money to appetize her lust. So anyways, he'd be going to Hot Springs or Little Rock or Texarkana, somewhere that was a town that had large money.